Okay, Pete. Ah, rats. I was gonna say, you just missed it. I had it running and I tried to adjust it and it quit. There we go. How you been? I haven't seen you in a while. Are you in the hospital again? How's the better? Or at least well enough they don't want you in the hospital. So yeah, I mean I've seen you out on the corner and stuff, so I know you've been around. We haven't chatted because you haven't been through the alley long enough.
I'm going in now.
Well, that's too bad. I hope they can figure something out and help you get on top of this. Anyhow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, you know, it's summer now, so I'm going to be out trying to mess with these a bit more. See, I painted this one. That's
I was just going to ask that.
did that last week, so if it looks different, that's because it is.
I was just going to say, is it a new one or?
No, I just painted this one.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about.
Yeah. I'm going to try and turn this around so it makes a little circle the other direction, but you gotta keep an eye on the camera viewfinder to know where it is in the camera so it'll show up on camera.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Like the wheels are solid rubber?
No, they're so the back wheels are rubber with foam inside to help them keep their shape, and the front wheels are just hollow rubber, so they're so they got some squish to them.
So you really don't have to actually maintain the wheels.
Yeah, like I don't have to fill them with air or anything, so that's good.
That's what I was trying to know.
Yeah. But I got, yeah, I twisted the drive belts so that it runs slower in forward than reverse. Because it used to have the belts on straight, and it ran fast forward and slow in reverse, which is normal, but I thought it was too fast to forward, so.
For the camera?
Well, just in general. So I put a little twist in the drive belts, and now this is forward, and gotta adjust my clutch.
Right, and keep
Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, and reverse is way faster. So, and I had to fix the clutch on it because the clutch got all full of grease, so everything was stuck together. And then it wouldn't release because all the grease stuck all the plates together instead of letting it, you know, go. So, and it looks like it's having issues again. So I don't know if more grease worked its way into the clutch, or if I just didn't get it adjusted quite right the first time. So we'll see about doing, or I'll have to see about doing something with that. But
That's so awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. You said you grew up in Michigan. Did you?
UP, yeah.
Yeah. any of the farms up there have Minneapolis Moline tractors on them?
I actually was in the wilderness.
Okay.
So, but when we would drive up there from here, there was a lot of cornfields, but
Yeah, I didn't know if you grew up where they had farming or if it was just all logging and stuff.
no, we had a lake.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they sold it to my aunt that hates me, so I don't think I'll be able to go back. But
Yeah.
you know, I was raised by my grandparents,
Okay.
so they moved down to Florida. I guess most old people do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so it's just a trek for them to go up there, and you can only go up there at certain times of the year because it's very rural. Rural?
Yeah, I mean you got to go when there's no snow and.
We trekked in one time. It was like 13 feet of snow, and we got up on our snowshoes and trekked into the cabin. You know?
Yeah.
But
My parents had some friends that owned a little cabin in northern Wisconsin, and when they moved up there, they just were like, oh yeah, so in the winter, our plan is to just be trapped. You know, we go and we make sure we got enough food to be stuck for a few weeks if we have to, and
I know exactly what that means.
but they, you know, they got the lake and they can go out and monkey around ice fishing if they want.
I never did ice fishing. That's one thing I never did. But regular fishing, but not ice fishing.
Oh yeah.
I have an ice fishing tent.
I was gonna say, I know they got you the tent out there, and
Yeah, that's an ice fishing tent. The guy, he's an ex-alcoholic and just goes around and donates.
I was down in Humboldt Park, and I saw there were a bunch down there too that the guy had helped set up.
Yeah.
You know, so
He came in with, well, there were originally two, but the one girl she got housing.
yeah. I know when they put those up, there was somebody else living over there near you, and they put the two up. And then you said that girl got housing, which is, you know, real good. And,
Yeah, I just haven't been as fortunate.
yeah. No. Hopefully your
One day.
time will come someday, right?
One day.
So, but yeah. No, I grew up on a farm with Minneapolis Moline tractors on it, and they're yellow and red. So when I decided to paint it, I was like, oh, I'll do it kind of like the Minneapolis with red wheels and yellow fenders. So.
Was it acrylic, the paint, or latex?
Good question. I just got little jars of roll.
I mean,
It's just on a shelf in the garage so I can read the label. It's enamel paint, so I did, I had primer to, you know, make sure it's stuck and give it a good base coat, and then the red is 2 coats on there, so it's primer and 2 coats for the red, and then the yellow, because light colors don't cover as well, the yellow is 3 coats, so it's primer plus 3 coats on the yellow. And then I keep experimenting with the fuel, and I mixed my own fuel for this batch with you know, oil and gas that I mixed myself instead of getting instead of just using plain gasoline. And
so you can put oil with the gas?
Yeah.
I mean, like it'll run just as well?
Well, I mean, you know, you mix oil for chainsaws.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Yeah, you can do that with just about any engine. The thing about it is that having the oil and the fuel spoils the spark, or follows the spark plugs.
Yeah, no, that's
So
right.
it gets up on the plugs, and you got to clean them a lot. But
That's what I was about that.
the thing that's nice is with the oil and the fuel, because the oil doesn't really burn, it makes the fuel a little less,
Combustible.
Yeah, so that you got to open the needle valve a little more, and that means that it's on this tiny one where it's such a fine adjustment. Instead of it being an adjustment between 1/4 turn and 1/8 turn open, I get a little bit more room where I can turn it between, a 1/2 and a 1/4 turn to get it to run. So I'm kind of liking that with the oil and the fuel, making it so that I have a little more adjustment on the needle valve instead of it being so super sensitive.
If, I forgot what I was about to ask. Does it change the speed on it if depending on how much oil or gas you put on it?
A teeny bit, but the speed of a engine like this is just based on how much air it can get in it. Because the amount of air, it determines how much gas it can burn, and that's what controls the speed. So it's a little bit with the the oil and the gasoline is a little bit because it keeps the gas from burning quite as hot and everything. But most engines, it's how much air they can get. That's part of why they do, superchargers and turbochargers. Because you can just cram more air in there, and the more air you can cram in the engine, the faster you can make it go. So, because that's what it is. It's about how much air you can get to mix with your gas.
It also burns more fuel when you put those.
Well, yeah, it's all about taking the fuel and making the engine go. So if you want the engine to go faster, you got to have more fuel. More air and more fuel to make the engine go faster. Yeah, all that turbo and supercharger stuff is a lot of fun, but then,
Yeah, but then you're paying for it.
Yeah, well,
Because I used to, I used to be an enthusiast.
Oh, yeah.
So I used to have them, but...
My brother had a Subaru WRX for a
Me
little while,
too.
and he really liked it, but
me
then
too.
he started looking at how much it cost him to put gas in it, because he'd go monkeying around, and he's like, it's fun when it's fun, but if I'm just driving across the highway or whatever, I don't like the idea that it's,
That was my favorite car.
Oh, yeah. That little WRX wagon my brother had was a lot of fun. I liked borrowing it from him.
It was a fun car, and I had a fucking 98 Corvette pace car. And I still love that WRX.
Yeah.
And then they got all sorts of other things nowadays. God.
Well, and a lot of that is, like the way a car feels is completely different from what the numbers say, Like a WRX is kind of a tiny car, and you sit low, and so it can really like push you into the seat and make it feel like it's really going, but it's not always the fastest.
But it's also the all-wheel drive too.
Yeah. Yeah, the all-wheel drive really gets it moving because it's grab and hold with all the tires.
Yeah, I used to fuck with my friends when I had it. It snapped their necks.
Yup. Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
They're fun cars, but like you said, gas.
I used to have the tiny Fiat, not the one I've got now is, the 500L. But I used to have one of the itty bitty, the 500, teeny tiny ones.
I know what you're talking about.
And that was a lot of fun because it was, I had a manual transmission so I could, make it go faster if I wanted it to. And it wasn't always the quickest, but it being so tiny on the, but it held the road really good. It really stuck to the road real good for being as tiny as it was. So it was a lot of fun to drive because when you went and you turned the wheel, it just jumped whatever direction the wheel went really well. You know, when a lot of cars, when you're driving, they kind of feel like they don't always want to go the direction you turn the wheel. My dad and my grandfather drove a lot of Jeeps.
Yeah.
And, you know, a Jeep, like, they're fine, but
they're good.
I always feel like they like being off-road, and I always feel like what they're doing is headed for the ditch all the time. They're like, oh, I have four-wheel drive. You know, we could be in the ditch over there.
And that's what, you know, a lot of people think because they have four-wheel drive on their cars, they can drive as fast as they want. But that doesn't mean it's going to brake as fast as you want either.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was talking to with a friend about electric cars and how they, you know, electric cars, they figure out how to do all this. They can make them accelerate as fast as they want.
Really fast.
You know, electric motors, all the torque starts at zero, so as long as the wheels are stuck to the ground, you can make that accelerate as hard as you want. But you know, the problem is stopping.
That's the issue.
You can't stop any faster, no matter how quickly you get started. You can only stop as fast as as fast as the rubber stays stuck to the road.
Exactly.
You know? And a lot of people, I think, when they buy a car, they're not thinking about that because, you know.
No, that was exactly what I was about to say too.
Yeah. And that's one of those things. Like, I've been lucky. I've never been in an accident that was my fault.
That was your fault.
Yep. I mean, I've had a few people hit me, but I've never been in an accident that was my fault. And there's a lot of times on the, you know, a lot of places where I'll be creeping along, especially in bad weather or something, and I've watched, one time I was in an ice storm when I lived in Wisconsin. I was driving home from Chicago, driving through an ice storm, and I'm doing 35 on the freeway because it's an ice storm out. Some guy went sailing past me because he was doing 65 on the freeway because it's 65, and, you know, he got past me, and then he got into a little more ice than had been on, you know, and he went sailing off into the ditch, and I was going slow enough that when he started to lose it, I could slow down and not run into him. But, you know, a lot of people, they don't think about, you got to be able to stop, and most of the time the best way you can avoid anything is being able to stop before you get to it.
Exactly.
And that's a lot of times whenever I've been someplace and seen some sort of dangerous accident happening on the freeway or, you know, the road or whatever. The reason I don't end up involved is because I make sure that when I'm driving, I'm thinking about how I can stop.
Well, you know, that's, you know, some people don't think like that, though, unfortunately. Did you twist the belt on that?
Yeah. Those are, I twisted it so it would go
You just
to
said
switch
that.
the gears, yeah. That way the reverse gear is forward now and it goes nice and slow and forward for a little bit.
You need to just explain that.
Yeah. That's okay. We can't always remember everything all the time, right?
Right.
So.
I'll get out of your hair.
Yeah, I see they finally finished all that construction and repaving the street in front of your place.
Oh,
and everything, you know.
It's, but now it's, you know, because, you know, like, it was like this color before.
Yeah.
And, but now more heat is...
Yeah, the fresh blacktop definitely sucks up a lot more heat.
So it's hurting me, but,
yeah,
it's nice. I'm not gonna, you know, but...
I mean, it's smooth, so now everybody's just gonna go through there faster. You know, when it's all made of potholes, they gotta choose whether they want to go faster. Avoid the holes.
I put a sign up there. There was a big pothole in front of the park one day.
Oh yeah.
And I put a sign up there, and the woman from, I can't remember her name. I think she was the weather woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you said that one time when we were chatting that you got to be on the news because they came out to report on you pointing out that pothole for everybody.
Oh, did I say that before?
Yeah. That's okay. It's always exciting to be on the news, right?
I've been on the news like 3 or 4 times already. Just because.
Did you get to go to the barbecue in the park the other day? Yeah. I went over there and I saw that and I was like, oh, I hope you got a chance to come over and grab a burger and stuff and hang out.
Yeah, no, I sat right there in front of the band.
Yeah. Yeah, when I went by I didn't see you, but I was, you know.
I didn't know what was going on until I came around. I was walking around and then I sat right there and nobody, I was right there watching.
No, that's good. Yeah,
I always try
I think that committee, I think the people that were doing the barbecue are one of the, you know.
They're all local people.
Yeah, that was, you know, that's the community group for the park there, it's not the city park department, it's the local community group, so.
Exactly. But they do that, I think, twice a year. Once in the summer,
I know they've got,
and then one at end of.
And they've got that fall fest thing.
Yeah, that's the one, fall fest.
Yeah. So. No, I'm glad you got a chance to go over there and hang out for a little bit. The band was a nice addition this year. I don't think they had it last year, but. Well, I don't remember. I only swung by last year.
I can't remember.
See it.
I can't, because I've been out here for ages, so I can't remember.
Well, you've been living out there for at least 8 years, because you've been living here longer than I have. So.
Thank you for that.
You know. Yeah, our condo board is getting all weird about stuff again, but.
What do you mean?
No, they've decided they got to get a bunch of cameras, because I don't know. I don't know if I talked to you, but a few months ago, somebody broke into our garage. They came along and they broke in the side door and they opened the garage door and stole a bunch of stuff.
What side door?
We got doors on either end of the garage inside the fence.
So somebody went over the...
Well, the front door doesn't lock on our fence, so they probably...
The front door?
Out front to get to the front of the building.
Oh. I get it. I'm like, there's no...
No, out front they,
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, must be out of fuel. I had to go do some other stuff today too, so...
Yeah, me
I'll
too.
call that done and head inside.
So, but somebody broke in. Did they take anything?